Hey everyone, welcome back to ACT Math Quick Hits, where you can make this one small change and watch a video a day. It doesn't cost you any money, only will cost you a little bit of time, and you're going to help improve your ACT score by improving your ACT math score. So there's a rundown of the math section of the ACT, and let's get back into it for today. Alright, so this one says, as shown, a number line between 0 and 8 is divided into 6 segments of equal length by points A through E. Okay. Which of the following statements is true about the square root of 8? All right, so there's a lot happening in this question for a number line question. So first of all, it's divided into 6 segments. Well, that sucks because if it was divided into 7, well then every letter would represent 1 unit. But because it's divided into 6 segments, every letter represents a little bit more than 1 unit. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to have to grab our Desmos graphing calculator and do some division here. So when I first started trying this problem, I looked at it as 8 divided by 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different letters. But then if I added up 1.6, for every single one of those letters, it didn't give me 8. So that was clearly incorrect. So we have to divide it by 6, right, because of those 6 equal segments. And then if you add up 1.33 all those times, then it gets you to 8. So this is super annoying because, right, it's not 1. And then, right, it's a little bit tricky because, like I said, even I thought I would do 5 first because there's 5 letters. However, in checking that, it needs to be 6 in order for this problem to work out. So we know that each letter represents 1.33 or 1 1/3. I'll leave it as a decimal because decimals are a little bit easier for us to comprehend than fractions. And then the other piece is, we have to figure out, okay, well, what does the square root of 8, or where does the square root of 8 fit in? So the square root of 8 is at 2.8, a big gross decimal, but we can just, estimate it to be 2.8. So we got all of this information here, so what are we going to do with it? So I'm going to go back to the problem, I'm going to zoom it in, and I'm going to draw all these pieces to kind of help us understand what we're dealing with here. So let me close this, get into the drawing tools. Again, remember, you don't have drawing tools on the ACT. This is, obviously something I have here to kind of help work us through this. Let me zoom into this first before I get into the drawing tools, just to make it a little bit bigger and easier for us to see. All right, so here we go. So we know that each one of these letters represents 1 1/3, right? So 1.33 would be A, right? And then the distance to B would be another 1.33, which would be 1.66. And then another 1.3, oh, not 1, right? That would be 2.66. Let's make sure we do our arithmetic correctly. It's not right with an eraser. There we go. All right, so then C would be 3.99. I mean, technically it would be 4, right? Because, remember, a third here is 0.3 repeating. So we could round that up to 4. I'm actually going to call it 4 just to kind of help our arithmetic down the line. So then this would be 5.33, and this would be 6.66. Oh man, the devil. And then, right, doing the next piece, we get 7.99, or we would round it to 8, which we have. Okay, so at least we have our number line labeled correctly. So now we got to figure out, okay, what was that square root of 8, right? So when we did the square root of 8, we got 2.8 something, right? I don't really care about the rest of it, is I know the square root of 8 fits between, or is 2.8, right? So on my number line, 2.8 is somewhere in between B and C, right? Because B is 2.66, C is 4, right? So 2.8 would be somewhere in between there. I don't know exactly where it is, but I know that it is somewhere in between B and C. So let's go back to our answer choices, right? So we know it's somewhere between B and C, and that's what our answer choices are saying. It says the square root of 8 is at C. Well, that wasn't correct. The square root of 8 is at D. That's not correct. The square root of 8 is between A and B. That wasn't correct, right? We saw that the square root of 8 is between B and C, right? That 2.33 and that 3.99 or 4, right? It technically doesn't matter to be able to answer this question. That's where the square root of 8 is. So this was kind of a cumbersome problem for something that seems so trivial as a number line, right, with all these different pieces. Obviously, Desmos helped us a little bit by doing these calculations, so we could put this on the number line here. So thanks for watching, everyone. I know that ACT Math Prep is not the most exciting stuff out there, but we're going to learn some ACT, we're going to learn some math, and we're going to learn how to use Desmos to our advantage. and that's going to help you on when you take the ACT. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can keep getting these quick hits. Thanks, everyone.